Porsche's greatest racing disaster didn't happen on the hallowed asphalt of Le Mans or the punishing twists of the Nuremberg Ring. No, it happened thousands of miles away, on American soil, at the Indy 500 with a car so flawed it couldn't survive 7 laps. But here's the kicker. Some say it was sabotaged before it even had a chance. This is the story of how one of racing's most respected names got humbled on the biggest oval stage in the world. Now, before the disaster, there was a dream, a bold one. Porsche wasn't just dipping its toes into American open-wheel racing. They were cannonballing into kart with full German swagger. And not in the typical buy a chassis, slap a logo on it kind of way, no. This was pure Porsche. From the engine to the bodywork, every inch of the car was homegrown. At the heart of it is a brand new fire-breathing 2.65-liter turbo V8, built by none other than Hans Mezger, the same man behind Porsche's most legendary motors. Pushing nearly 800 horsepower, it was loud, proud, and all business. The mission was to conquer the Indianapolis 500, the crown jewel, the American dream, Stuttgart edition. Now, Porsche had flirted with IndyCar before, kind of. Back in 1980, they cooked up a crazy idea. An open-wheel racer powered by a turbocharged flat 6 pulled straight from the 935. They even tested it at Ontario Motor Speedway, but just as things looked promising, the rulebook got weaponized. The United States Auto Club changed the classification on their engine overnight, cutting allowable boost and effectively cutting Porsche off at the knees. Welcome to American racing politics. Porsche was stunned, and not in a let's regroup and try again kind of way. They packed up and went home, redirecting their efforts to IMSA and Formula One where the rules were less creatively enforced. But 7 years later, Porsche returned, this time with backup. CEO Peter Schutz gave the green light, and Al Holbert, 5-time IMSA champion and director of North American Motorsports, was leading the charge. With Holbert in the pit lane and Mezger in the engine room, things were looking up. The new car was called the 2708. Sleek, purpose-built, purebred, a statement of intent. Except, something was off from the start. For reasons still unclear, Porsche rushed the 2708 into the final 2 races of the 1987 kart season before it had even had a proper shakedown. Testing was minimal, wind tunnel DNA was practically non-existent, and despite Mario Andretti himself begging the engineers to take the thing into a rolling road wind tunnel, the team insisted that their design was fine. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. This wasn't the careful, calculated Porsche that we knew. It felt rushed. Proud, maybe even stubborn, but hey, when you're Porsche and your badge has been kissed by legends from the Mulsanne to Monaco, maybe you think you can bend the racing gods to your will. Turns out, the gods at Indy are a different breed entirely. If Porsche came to IndyCar with a dream, then Laguna Seca in 1987 was the rude awakening. This was the official debut of the 2708, with none other than Al Unser Sr. behind the wheel. A 4-time Indy 500 champion, a living legend. If anyone could drag a stubborn car into glory, it was Al. But even he couldn't perform miracles. From the jump, the problems were glaring. The 2708 was overweight. Not by a little, by a lot, and the downforce was practically missing in action. On a grid full of sharpened knives, Porsche had brought a very heavy butter spoon. The car started third from last, and within 7 laps, 7, it was out of the race, limping back to the paddock with mechanical issues. So much for German reliability. After Laguna Seca, things didn't get better. They headed to Miami, hoping to bounce back, but didn't even qualify. For a brand that dominated at Le Mans, crushed in Can-Am, and made turbocharging an art form, this was, well, it was embarrassing. And the paddock knew it. Everyone knew it. Porsche was in over its head, and instead of shaking up the status quo, they became a cautionary tale that even giants can stumble, especially when they underestimate just how different the game is on someone else's home turf. By the end of 1987, Porsche had seen enough. Their all-Porsche chassis was officially toast. For 1988, they swallowed their pride and did what most IndyCar teams were already doing. They bought a March chassis. Specifically, the March 88C. It was a practical move, even if it felt like an admission that the purebred approach had failed. But Porsche wasn't giving up just yet. They made a deal with March to develop a more Porsche-tailored version down the line, a quiet nod to the dream that still flickered somewhere in the background. The engine was still the same. Hans Mezger-designed 2.65-liter turbo V8, now paired with a car that, on paper, should have been more competitive. And with Teo Fabi at the wheel, a driver with real pace and experience, things started to look mildly promising. They even bagged a 4th place finish at Nazareth. Not bad, not legendary either, but at least they were finally finishing races sometimes. But the gremlins weren't done. The mechanical issues persisted, and Indy 500 glory remained stubbornly out of reach. DNF after DNF at the sport's most iconic venue. It didn't matter how much horsepower they had if the car couldn't go the distance. Porsche had come to America for fireworks. What they got instead was a sparkler in the rain. And then the whispers began. There were rumors, never officially confirmed, but persistent, that during certain testing sessions, Porsche intentionally held back, drove slowly, not because they were sandbagging for strategy, but to avoid stirring up political drama in the paddock. The theory was that Porsche didn't want to be seen as too fast too soon, especially with their foreign factory backing and clean sheet engineering approach. Apparently, beating the established teams too convincingly would have risked another political takedown like in 1980. Whether it's true or not, the fact that anyone even suspected sabotage from the inside says a lot about how fraught the Indy scene was for outsiders. Then came the real blow. In October of 1988, Al Holbert, Porsche's motorsport leader in the US and arguably the heart of the whole IndyCar project, was killed in a plane crash. It was a tragedy, plain and simple, but for the 2708 program, it was more than that. It was a loss of direction. Holbert had been the bridge between Porsche's legacy and its American ambition. Without him, the program felt adrift. Derek Walker, a seasoned manager fresh off a stint with Penske, stepped in to steer the ship for 1989. He brought experience, structure, and a no-nonsense attitude, but he wasn't Holbert. And by now, it was starting to feel like Porsche was racing not for victory, but for dignity. After the heartbreak of 1988, the mechanical DNFs, the political murmurings, and the devastating loss of Al Holbert, Porsche's IndyCar program could have quietly folded. No one would have blamed them, but instead they regrouped. With Derek Walker now at the helm, a new car in development, and just enough reason to believe the worst was behind them, Porsche pushed forward into 1989, and finally, something clicked. The March 89P arrived with Porsche's fingerprints all over it. This wasn't just another off-the-shelf chassis, it was a true collaboration. Porsche working closely with March to fine-tune a car around their turbo V8 and engineering philosophy, and this time, it worked. Teo Fabi, now fully settled into the team, drove the wheels off it. At Mid-Ohio, everything came together: car, engine, driver. Fabi delivered Porsche's one and only IndyCar victory, not with luck, but with pace. The team backed it up with 3 more podiums and 5 additional top 5 finishes. When the dust settled, Fabi had finished 4th in the championship. 4th! From 7-lap retirements to legitimate title contention in just 2 seasons. On paper, it was a remarkable turnaround. The engine had grown up too. Porsche's 2.65-liter turbo V8 had been refined and hardened with an advanced engine management system, giving it surprising composure and competitive performance. When it wasn't braking, which to be fair still happened, it could hang with the best. The paddock started to take Porsche seriously again, but then came Indy. Again. This time, they made it 23 laps before something broke. It had become a grim ritual. Bring a fast car to the brickyard, watch it fall apart in front of 500,000 people. No matter how much Porsche improved elsewhere, Indy was the mountain they couldn't climb. Still, that one victory, that one single beautiful win was enough to breathe life into the project. Encouraged by the progress, Porsche greenlit a 2-car effort for 1990. Fabi would return, and John Andretti was brought in to fill the second seat. The dream wasn't dead yet. In fact, from the outside it looked like Porsche was finally turning the corner. But just as the dream seemed within reach, it all came crashing down. The March 90P was supposed to be their breakthrough car, designed with Porsche's full input. It featured an advanced carbon fiber monocoque that not only made it lighter and stiffer than its rivals, but also significantly safer, at least according to the data. Unfortunately, that wasn't how the competition saw it. The moment the 90P showed up, paddock paranoia kicked in. Other team owners, fearing Porsche's tech leap, started lobbying against it. The excuse was safety. The claim was that the drivers sat too low in the tub, making it dangerous. But Porsche's internal testing and even external safety data showed the opposite. The car was safer than anything else on the grid. It didn't matter. CART banned it. Just like that, politics once again sabotaged Porsche's efforts at Indy, and this time there was no quiet workaround. With the season already looming, Porsche and March were forced to scramble together a last-minute solution. A heavier, less rigid aluminum chassis slapped together on the fly. Early races had to be run with the outdated 1989 car, while the rushed 1990 design was frantically worked on behind the scenes. The result was total chaos. The new car was plagued with mechanical issues, cooling problems, reliability nightmares. Oh, and because of how the engine was packaged, the turbo sat right behind the driver. Now, that may sound cool until you realize that during refueling stops, if methanol fumes happened to leak near that red-hot turbo, it could literally ignite. So yes, the car could set itself on fire while sitting still. Not exactly the kind of hot lap Porsche was hoping for. Both drivers fought through the season with a mix of resilience and frustration. Fabi, who'd been a podium threat the year before, fell 10 spots down the standings. Andretti finished 10th, respectable but nowhere near what this team had been built for. And then, it was over. Quietly, almost mercifully, Porsche exited IndyCar at the end of the 1990 season. The dream was dead. With the company facing bigger financial issues back home, the appetite for more political headaches and bottomless spending was gone. Porsche had come to Indy with ambition and pride and left with nothing more than an 18th place finish and a legacy of what could have been. They never came back, not with a chassis, not even as an engine supplier, despite the occasional rumor bubble, like the one that surfaced in 2019. The Brickyard had humbled one of motorsport's proudest names. In the end, it wasn't just bad luck or unreliable hardware. It was a perfect storm of inexperience, internal missteps, and above all, politics. Porsche didn't lose IndyCar on the track. They lost it in the boardrooms, back channels, and rulebooks. A hard truth for a company used to winning. But maybe that's what makes this story worth telling, because even legends can get burned when they fly too close to Indy's flames. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, and until next time, thanks for watching.